Hey everyone, it's Dr. Chuck. Thanks for stopping back for another episode of Refrigerant Checkup. Today we're going to take a revisit to an oldie but goodie, refrigerant management. The 5 R's of refrigerant management, something we've talked about for years and years, but I want to apply them now in the new AIM era that we're under. So let's get started. First and foremost is record keeping. It's always been important for managing your refrigerants, whether you're a contractor, whether you're buying refrigerant, selling refrigerant, actually putting it into systems. But all the record keeping good practices we've used for CFCs and we're required to use for HCFCs should now be applied to HFCs as well. If you haven't been doing it, I think it's a good practice. Hopefully a lot of people have been doing it all along. But in any case, you really want to make sure you have your record keeping down and stay compliant and be able to prove that through good records. Number 2 of the AIM era version of refrigerant management, again, repairing leaks. It's more important than ever. It's the right thing to do for the environment. It's the right thing to do for cost reasons. It's the right thing to do for your customers. Anytime we need to add refrigerant, we want to be seeing where that leak is coming from, get that fixed so we can keep the refrigerant in the system. Again, no real change, just a call to action to reemphasize the needs to repair leaks of refrigeration systems. Third, reclaim, recycle, recovery. All slightly different versions of the same thing, but it's more important than ever to do good recovery practices when you're servicing equipment or taking equipment at its end of life. If you're doing refrigerant change out, we want to do good recovery and reclaim. Turning that refrigerant in. Historically, things like R22 have had some value as reclaimed products. More and more as we get into the AIM transition, things typically that haven't been reclaimed to a big extent, things like 410A, 404A, 507, may become more and more valuable in the reclaim market. And the whole industry is going to need to work together to manage as supplies get lessened of the HFCs as we go through the phase down. So it's not a complete phase out, but again, reclaim of all our refrigerants is going to be very, very important. Number 4, the 4th R on refrigerant management, retrofits. Again, these have gone on for a long time in our industry in certain transitions. But again, as the AIM Act progresses and we see more and more pressure on the higher GWP refrigerants, things like 404, 507, and that equipment using those refrigerants still has usable life, it may make a lot of sense and have a lot of value for your customers, for end users, to switch out that refrigerant and do a retrofit. There's a lot of good engineering guidelines and documentation out there. This is nothing really new. We know how to do this. If you haven't done it, get a hold of us. We can help you get started to make sure you're successful and your customers are happy. But again, retrofit's going to be real important up there with record keeping, with repairing leaks, with recovery reclaim, retrofits, and finally the final R, replacing equipment. So when it comes to installing new equipment, a lot of that may be on new refrigerants which are A2L classified, A2L flammable. That means they're mildly flammable. They're going to be installed according to the appropriate codes and standards. You'll need to understand that. The OEMs will be providing instructions on the specifics of their equipment. But there's a lot of good training going on now in the A2L transition world. It's not too soon to get educated on that stuff. So leading training organizations as well as refrigerant manufacturers like Chemours are beginning to train all parts of the industry, wholesale distribution, service contractors, anyone who's going to handle new refrigerants in the coming generation when we come to replace those. So again, a slight pivot on some of the R's of refrigerant manufacture, but not too much deviation. I think we can all handle this. But again, record keeping, repairing leaks, recovery, retrofits, and replacing equipment. A good way to keep all the best practices in refrigerant management in front of you. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. If you have any questions on any of these aspects in detail, I'd be glad to help you out. Reach out to me or one of my Chemours teammates. And please stay tuned. We'll be providing more information as we go through the AIM Act and as new refrigerants and the transition all start taking place this year. So thanks again, and be safe.